So we have from the Red Cross today, Aaron, Miss Diane Gordon, who's the disaster manager, and Miss Claire Ann Raynor, who is the fundraising and communication manager at the Bermuda Red Cross. We'll wait for the second. Hello, how are you? Can you hear us? I think you're both on mute.
Okay. I'm old and I had to find that button. So just give me a second.
That was pretty quick. I mean, shoot yourself down.
Yeah.
And what about, so Miss Claire Ann, can you hear us okay?
Absolutely, I can definitely hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you two ladies with us on behalf of the Bermuda Red Cross. We're appreciative of your patience as we had that previous interview with Commissioner Corbishley, and we look forward to picking your brains and talking a little bit about the Bermuda Red Cross and how you've adjusted. So why don't we start? You can tell us both a bit about your roles at the Bermuda Red Cross and what you do. Is this your full-time job at the Red Cross as fundraising and disaster managers? Or let's start with you, Diane.
I'm happy for Claire Ann to go first. So go ahead, go ahead, Claire Ann.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Aaron and Ryan, for having us. So I am the fundraising and communications manager for Bermuda Red Cross. I've actually been in the position since last September, and I'm really enjoying it myself. Yes, this is my full-time position. Sometimes it actually takes more than 5 days. Sometimes we're here 7 days a week. Here lately, definitely been here 7 days a week. But I'm really enjoying it. Here lately, it's been more of, I've been more in my communications role and working along with Diane with the disaster management, getting out there to the community. So it's been a great 6 months, I would say.
Okay. So Ms. Gordon, if you could tell us a bit about what your role is and how you've been impacted by COVID-19.
Thank you, Aaron. Well, disaster manager really sums it up. And if you know me, you know that title is appropriate for myself. I've been with the Red Cross now for 8 years and in the capacity of a disaster manager. And my focus is on exactly what we're all going through right now. And that is to be prepared and to focus in on disasters such as COVID-19, and then look at a recovery and a plan going forward. For me, it is, even though it is unsettling times for a lot of people, for me, it is all about opportunities here because we have a chance to really change things by wiping our current slate clean and starting in a different focus and in a different way.
I like that. Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon. Now you mentioned that you've been at the Red Cross for 8 years. Now, I don't know if you've been the disaster manager for that long, but I can imagine that your daily work has shifted quite drastically, sort of with the onset of this current pandemic. I mean, I don't know what the office was like before this situation, but you're certainly, I guess, working now a lot harder than you were before. Sort of doing disaster management. What is that like? I mean, Bermuda, I'm sure we don't really experience that many disasters.
That's right. You're absolutely right. So in this organization, we are a humanitarian organization, the Red Cross, and the Red Cross, our branch, has been in existence. We're celebrating our 70th anniversary this year in 2020. And so we have a variety of different services that are available from this organization, which on a normal basis would be fully stocked and very focused in on those services, such as our equipment rental, our thrift shop, our training, our events, our fundraising, our promotions, and the rest of it. The disaster risk reduction or disaster management portion of this organization is generally on a lower level because we're not bringing in dollars here, and our focus is on preparedness, risk reduction. It's not sexy stuff, guys. It's not sexy stuff. So really, you have to put a spin. Oh, Erin, look at that smile. That's the first time I've seen you smile. But you have to put a spin on this. You really have to put a spin on it because it's not sexy stuff. So when you're going out and you're trying to get people like yourselves, this young generation, they're looking through me. And I do know this because I have a daughter who's 29 and she looks through me all the time. So you have to really get in there. But as a humanitarian organization, our focus is on the most vulnerable. And most vulnerable can be extremes, either your seniors or your youth, okay? But we want to focus in, and we have been focusing in, on those who are considered to be most vulnerable and do not necessarily have the resources or the capacity to have a voice or to help themselves, okay? So that's what we do, and we've always done that. So when we're going forward here, a lot of the work leading up to a potential disaster is making sure that you are educating, informing, and getting people on a level where they're interested enough so that they can be better prepared in times of disasters. And in Bermuda, as a Bermudian, I can say this, in Bermuda, that's traditionally been hurricanes. And, we're all very cocky. We think that we've got that down pat and there's no problem. And generally, so far to date, we have been extremely fortunate. We see the best in all of us as Bermudians, whether you're Bermudian or a resident of Bermuda. We see the best of us come out during times of hurricanes. This situation is not just about Bermuda. This situation is a pandemic that has hit us worldwide. This is something, guys, that I have to tell you, I never imagined for a second I would see in my lifetime. Perhaps my daughter, I don't know, but not for me. So this is really testing us. And I always think, 2020 was a year we've been working very closely with the Ministry of National Security and the government overall. And we were having this wonderful scenario exercise to do with a possible terrorist attack. And that was supposed to be in April of this year. And the Bermuda government has been working extremely hard and very focused for about 2 years, 18 months to 24 months on this particular exercise. Lo and behold, that exercise was canceled, put on the back burner. We had our own live exercise here. And so this is testing time, and this is what we have trained for. This is what all of us as frontline workers and responders have trained for years. And so a lot of this is new for us. A lot of this is so scary, so emotional. But you know what? It has brought us together again. We are working in partnership, in collaboration with others, and we are not doing this as a silo. Do we know what's going to happen? No, I haven't got a clue what's going to happen. Every day we are working, but we're in a team environment, and we're taking the skills that we have, the knowledge we have learned, and moving forward.
Well, it's very much clear that you both are passionate about this, and that's what we need. One of the issues one of the matters rather, that I raised during our press conference early on in COVID-19 was the issue of homelessness. And I know that may not fall within your specific remit, and I'm sure there's somebody does it, and you can give me some guidance on that. But one of the things that Ryan and I were discussing was perhaps that we've seen our homeless population cared for better during the COVID-19, and we were concerned to ensure that would continue post-COVID-19, recognizing that we're not going to have the same reality. There are increased difficulties on the average citizen who doesn't ordinarily suffer from the financial constraints that some of our homeless do. So can you elaborate a bit on that and what the Red Cross is doing in that space?
Yeah. Clara, and I'm just going to say this.
No, go ahead. This is definitely one of yours.
Disaster risk reduction. Yeah, that's always been a concern. The homeless on our island. Through the city of Hamilton and through Mr. Dwayne Keynes, at the city of Hamilton and our mayor, Charles Gosling, there has been a unsheltered population group committee that has been formed. And this is taken place before. Stick around in Bermuda long enough and you'll see all the different causes and the conversations coming back and forth, like the weather in New England. If you don't like it, stick around, it's bound to change. But we are focused in on this homelessness in the city. And so this started last year, and it's quite interesting to see the dynamics that has been occurring during COVID-19. But I have to say something to everybody. I hear people say, gosh, our homeless look much better being taken care of and this and that. There's two sides to this, okay? It's our perception of things, but it's also what the homeless and at risk may feel themselves. And perhaps some of them want to keep things private, do things themselves, may feel a sense of lack of pride or something on asking for help. There's two stories to this, a flip coin scenario, and it's a very difficult issue. During the COVID-19, we saw a number of our essential service workers, and these would be our frontline workers, assisting not only vulnerable, but the vulnerable homeless as well, and providing fantastic services to them. We've had the shelter, thanks to the Department of Child and Family Services, Alfred Mabry and his team, open up the shelter and providing goods and services for our homeless. But some of them have chosen not to go there for one reason or another, and others have chosen. And when they have gone up there, it's not that easy, because they're living a life that you and I have not experienced, or I know I have not experienced. And therefore, that change can be very emotional and stressful for them. You're asking them through this pandemic, this disaster, to change the day-to-day living that they've been experiencing for years, a lot of them. And that can cause a lot of stress. The Red Cross provided, we have an agreement with Child and Family Services, and we assist them with the shelter on a normal basis, meaning through hurricanes and stuff. So our thrift shop will provide clothing to assist those who may be out on the streets, and they have the opportunity to get showers and stuff. And people will say, well, that person still smells. Well, of course, they don't have a change of clothes. So we provide the change of clothes. It's about giving respect and making a person feel good and valued, and very much valued. So they have gone through, and I've heard different comments from people who have said, oh, they look so much better. Well, hang on for a second. You've put them in a shelter, and they have to abide by the guidelines. And one of those guidelines is that if you come in the morning, you have to stay there the whole day. This is not where you can come and go. And that's stressful for them. And so they haven't been out in the real world or back into their own environment. And then you're pushing them back into that environment, and they're coming back. There's a lot of things. I treat people the way that I would want to be treated. And for me, it's very simple. When I see someone who is homeless, or what I consider to be in a vulnerable state, these are people that do not have a voice, and we must help them. They must also help themselves and abide by certain guidelines. But it is our responsibility, and the Red Cross is a humanitarian organization. That is what we do. And therefore, we do not judge, we do not look at, we are trying to help people on a day-to-day basis, 365 days a year. But when you have something like COVID-19, it's ramped up even higher.
Yeah, well, Ms. Gordon, one thing is clear, is that you're passionate about
She's very passionate.
And that comes through very clearly to me, and I certainly know that it does to Ryan and our listening audience. I think that when we look at, we've had a range of guests on this series over the past few weeks, and we've looked at some other issues that I think get more of the attention. But this is an important issue and deserves just as much attention and resources as any other issue that plagues Bermuda. And so, again, before we even wrap up, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the homeless, because as you said, it's not sexy stuff. It's things that needs to be done for those that cannot do for themselves. And for, like you said, you have to understand that the individuals that you're working for sometimes don't want the help that you're there to provide. And that has to do something with, for me, for instance, if I'm doing something for somebody and they don't want my help, there's a certain level of dedication and passion that has to be able to understand why, the rationale of why individuals have that. So again, thank you. Ms. Raynor, can you tell us a bit about, and we're going to wrap up here briefly, but if you can tell us a bit about how it has affected you in your role. I know that when I mentioned homelessness, you said, well, actually, it does fall under our remit. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
And before you do that, I just want to jump in and add a little bit to that question, if that's okay. I think we may have jumped the gun a little bit because we talked about homelessness. But Ms. Raynor, I know that you're also fundraising and communications. So if you could add into that and let us know what the Red Cross's role has been prior to this and throughout this pandemic as well, in addition to sort of the homeless debate.
So prior to this, we were operating as normal with our thrift shops being open, 3 times a week, with our equipment rental being open Monday through Saturday, with our training department teaching people with CPR, first aid, and AED training, babysitting training. So this was not business as usual, straight up until, I would say, mid-March, when we recognized that quite a few of our volunteers, are seniors. And so we had to put their safety first. And all of those services were actually closed down. And so what actually happened was we had to go from our 3 streams of revenue, and we had to literally put Bermuda first, like we always do, but actually decide to say, okay, we need to take up the role of the disaster recovery that we normally do. But we had to push that to the forefront, and we had to go out there. And right now, we've been working a lot with the seniors. We've been working in the vulnerable communities, those that have pre-existing conditions. We had an amazing donor who donated some medical grade masks for us, and we've been out in the community delivering them out to Frizzles Hill, up to quite a few different areas like Hayden Park, up to the seniors' homes. We actually, when the first lot came in, we delivered to every single senior citizen's rest home to ensure that they and their staff were covered, to ensure that they had nothing to worry about outside of doing their jobs and being safe. We have had our PSFA responders, which is our psychosocial first aid, which is basically first aid for the mind. We have had those volunteers, 42 volunteers, working very hard under the guidance of Diane Gordon, who has been working with us and pushing us to assist the Ministry of Health in doing the mental health call-outs for those individuals that came back from overseas. So when they were doing their isolation times and their quarantine times, we were calling on them and checking the temperatures and just listening to them. Sometimes we actually had to listen to some of their concerns and do what we call psychosocial first aid and just listen to them, give them some advice. We always, gave them the direction that we were given by the Ministry of Health and the Bermuda government to call the different hotline numbers that were given to us. So, we have been very busy, working 80, 90-hour weeks. There have been, 80, 90-hour days. You could tell we're just really sleepy. But, we've just been going because we want to see us come out from this. Our new norm is going to be something that we've never seen before. And so we want to ensure that as we come out, that, everyone is able to be able to get out. I spoke to a senior today who said that, you know, she hasn't been out since March and they're afraid to come out.
Wow.
And so when we speak to them and when they're, you know, they're doing what we talk to them about, you know, they are reassured because we got the information from the government. We got the information that is being disseminated to us. And we want to make sure that they're not getting incorrect information. And so quite often, sometimes they're getting hearsay. They're getting someone else's, you know, understanding or concepts. And so when they talk to us, we're able to say, you know, this is what you can do. This is what you can't do. But there's individuals, when we're talking to them in self-quarantine, they were like, I don't have any groceries. I don't know what I'm to do. We gave them, say, you know, well, place your order on, you know, online, have someone go pick up your groceries. And they were like, oh, I can do that. So, you know, we become valuable. We have been valuable during this time to many people, young, old, alike. And it's been interesting. You know, we didn't have all of the fundraisers that we were supposed to have this year, but to me, this has been very rewarding. I've reached out. The seniors are calling in, and I'll use this as an example. Yesterday, a senior called in and I'm listening to her voice and I'm saying, I know this voice. And she's talking to me. And I said, this voice has scolded me quite often and I can't figure out who this is. And so they were like, you used to shop at this store. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. She says, now find yourself up here and bring me my mask so we can have a good old conversation. Because I haven't been out of the house and you and I need to talk. And I'm like, okay. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been interesting. To me, it's been rewarding. I've worked in just about every sector except for education. And for me, I found philanthropy, you know, nonprofit to be more rewarding than anything I've ever done.
Well,
it certainly takes a certain type of person to do such a role. I mean, Aaron, I don't know about you, but whenever we have sort of people from the third sector come onto our show, it always changes the mood completely. You can absolutely tell the difference between somebody working in philanthropy and charities versus, you know, somebody who's just doing a different type of job for money, for example. So the passion has been definitely something that we can pick up on. And Miss Gordon, you mentioned Aaron smiling in a very rare moment, and that's certainly.
I know. I do want to say one thing to you. I know you're rushing for time, but there's two things. You just made the comment about the third sector and essential workers. I want to leave the listening audience with this thought. The third sector has contributed a tremendous amount of dollars, but also services during this COVID-19. All of this, which has been amazing, in my opinion. I want you to stop and think for a second, because as we're coming into a different phase now, we know that people have lost employment. People are having their hours cut and a number of concerns, which is going to impact and increase the level of emotional anxiety moving forward. But imagine for a second that is also impacting the very services that are providing those services for people. We're not exempt from this, guys. We may be a humanitarian organization, but we are being impacted because the areas in which we normally would get income to be able to go back into the community, that has all frozen because our volunteers are predominantly seniors and we're trying to protect them. So again, we need to think about that. And I promise I'm going to shut up, but I am going to say one thing to both of you boys, Aaron and Ryan. I have to tell you, I am a mother and I have listened to you since you have both returned back and you started this program. And I get goosebumps when I look at the two of you, articulate, proud, intelligent. I can't say enough. You would think you were my boys, and you've done an amazing job. Thank you both. And thank you for allowing Claire Ann and myself and the Bermuda Red Cross to come into your place and talk to us about some of the things we're doing, but also some of the challenges that we in the third sector are encountering today, because I have to tell you, we can only do so much. And without having the administrative staff there to ensure that we're moving things along and organizing and sustaining it, it won't happen.
Thank you. Well, we truly appreciate that, Ms. Gordon. And I mean,
can I just say this one quick?
Sure.
When I first heard you guys at the press conferences, you definitely made a major impact. Your questions were well thought out. They were precise. And even when you were asking questions that were related to the actual conference and not things that were happening around, I was just so impressed. And I just want to say thank you, because you have caused everyone to step up their game.
Well, I mean,
caused everyone to step up their game.
Yeah, it wouldn't be what it is without not only you as guests, but of course the listening public and Bermuda. So thank you. I mean, you gassed us up a little bit. So we're grateful.
Really quickly, and this has actually put a smile on my face, perhaps more so than your last comment. But one of the I think I found out your nickname. Somebody in the comments has referred to you as Mama G.
Yes.
Well, I would tell you what they really call me, but that would not be good to go on there. Okay.
Well, we appreciate both of your time. I know that the listening audience has certainly enjoyed your contribution to the show, and we thank you. So take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.